Back in 1999, a new era of Star Wars arrived, and while it may seem now, with 3 entire trilogies come and gone, like a return to a galaxy far, far away would be a no-brainer even for the scruffiest-looking nerf herders, it had been 16 years.
Who's scruffy looking?
You had a lot of energy, excitement, but you had some questions, right? You had some questions in terms of what George's creative juice is going to be like 16 years after. I mean, how do you replicate something that people have never seen before, right? Like, can you do it again?
But box office success wasn't the biggest gamble of 1999.
Are people going to be so engaged and energized that they feel compelled to go out and buy the toys?
George Lucas famously clung to the merchandising rights for the franchise during his negotiations to direct the first Star Wars film, and wound up making a mint on the toys. So a decade and a half after Return of the Jedi, the hype machine Death Star readied another marketing blast.
The original trilogy was just so phenomenal. People have been awaiting this for like 16 years.
Not only were original trilogy Star Wars fans giddy about going back into theaters for more of the Skywalker saga, many were also bringing their younglings to experience it with them, which meant all things the Phantom Menace across the merchandising spectrum needed to be aimed at 2 whole generations. Everywhere you looked, it seemed like just about every retailer had some kind of the Phantom Menace tie-in. There was PepsiCo's Find Yoda and Win sweepstakes, or Frito-Lay chip bags hiding instant win cards. And then there was Hasbro, who paid more than $500 million for the Star Wars prequel's master toy rights. Making everything from new Star Wars vehicles to action figures and lightsabers, they took the massive gamble that if they made them, the Star Wars fans would come. But would they? As Star Wars The Phantom Menace opened in theaters, Paul Palmer was Hasbro's senior brand manager for Star Wars. Despite being a lifelong fan of Lucas's cinematic galaxy, Palmer remembers everyone at Hasbro wondering pre-release, how big is the Star Wars appetite?
Those are real conversations because we just didn't know how deep of a line. But in this case, it'd be how many Anakin Skywalkers, how many Darth Mauls do you make? When you look at Natalie Portman, Queen Amidala, how many different versions and which versions do you make and when do you make them available?
And then there was the mystery of the kids. If you were 15 or younger in 1999, you'd never experienced a new Star Wars movie in theaters.
People like my children who are predisposed to Star Wars, clearly. Your dad's a fan, but what if you don't have that phenomena? Is the average kid going to get excited about Star Wars?
But in the time since the original trilogy toys made George Lucas a billionaire, the competition had stiffened.
Because if you think about it, you had gone 16 plus years, but in that 16 years, people forget about the Alien saga had still continued. Terminator's property had started to grow. What if I'm into aliens? What if I'm into other types of sci-fi, Star Trek? Do I have room on my plate to really go as deep as I might want with Star Wars? What's my capacity? Truly, the consumer capacity, what's the capacity we have to create toys?
Even with all those unknowns, which was the case for every company who licensed anything related to the film, Star Wars The Phantom Menace took over retail space on a scale retailers and customers had never seen before.
People forget that back then you had 5 major toy retailers, right? It was Walmart. People forget about Kmart. We forget now that Toys R Us is gone. People forget that KB Toys had a focus in the mall. I mean, they were like a gold standard in every mall. Those retail partners had a significant demand. Hey, we want product. We want to make sure that we're getting the same kind of distribution that Walmart and Target are. And Toys R Us, we're getting exclusive product. Toys R Us, Walmart, Target all wanted exclusive products. So it was really balancing the needs of all those retail partners who had their own consumer groups than just focusing on Lucasfilm. I mean, I think George just wanted to make sure that people could get his product.
What that created eventually was an oversaturation. Even after grown-ups finished their initial spending binges at the Toys R Us Midnight Madness events and nearly wiped out entire first-wave lines for collectability.
For episode 1, there was concern about some inventory issues, to be quite honest. If you go back and look, there was excess inventory, and we had to get rid of that excess inventory. I think all of us, retail partners as well as Hasbro, had to work collectively to address the product excesses that existed. I mean, that's known. Filling 40 feet and 80 feet. People don't understand that 80 feet of retail space with one brand is unbelievable. So yes, you're going to have excess because we didn't know this is going to be $1 billion year. I mean, where are we going here?
The adult audience reception for Star Wars: The Phantom Menace is now part of the prequel lore, but contemporary kids of the time did end up loving Star Wars, so the toys remained strong in retail with very specific recalibrations for stock and line variety as the rest of the prequel films were released. Now, Palmer watches and teaches about the industry as a professor at Indiana University's Kelley School of Business. As he looks at the state of Star Wars retail today, which focuses heavily on new streaming properties like The Mandalorian, he says so much of what we see today in marketing and retail tie-ins can be traced back to what Lucas did in 1999.
I think we have seen now that you have to set up an experience. George is at the front of experiential marketing because he allowed you to put yourself into a saga. You know, we did events and activities, Star Wars Celebration, Star Wars Weekends, he's very open to, big fan events. That part of experiential marketing, there's been nothing like it, but it also set the expectation that if you're going to be successful with properties and brands, you have to give consumers this type of opportunity to really connect with your brand and to be able to really feel it, to be part of it. That you can't just say, I'm going to show you something that I think is great and you're going to pay for it and you're going to continue to pay for it and support it. I don't think that exists anymore.
Today, The Phantom Menace's legacy is split pretty well down the middle. Some regard it as Lucas's first Star Wars misfire, while others see it as the first step into a period of rebirth for the franchise. But wherever fans stand on the film, there's no denying that the toys that accompanied it were an integral part of the experience, and it continued to be with the prequels that followed. And then, every other iteration of Star Wars in the 22 years since. For Hasbro, at the time, it was a risky $500 million game of sabacc. They bet big, and the prize was an untold number of plastic, double-bladed lightsabers flying off the shelves. But seriously, who watching this video doesn't have some of those old Star Wars toys laying around?
May the Force be with you. We'll be a gentleman, I promise.